Well, thank you so much for joining me. You literally just announced or released Narcissist. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling concerned that maybe it was the wrong one, but I'm also just that's just my brain being anxious that I didn't do the right one. But I know I did. I put it in a specific folder and it's just kind of out there in the world now, hopefully by now. So yeah, I'm nervous about how it's going to be received because it's the first release from this self-devised project.
Yeah, and I was going to ask how you're celebrating, but I mean, you're literally here at the moment. So, but do you have anything for like big celebrations tonight plans?
None at all. I've actually just been working on new music as we speak. A little bit of a different taste, a different flavor. I feel like every time I release something, it's an expansion of my caliber. So yeah.
And with Narcissist, I love that you're not just releasing a song. So even just seeing the promo that you put up a couple of days ago, you had like a definition of what it was, but also some other abusive traits. So yeah, tell me why you decided to share that alongside the song.
Um, I think I think it's just important to kind of get the concept out there because I've sort of just announced this project out of nowhere. I've promoted it myself, just only exclusive to Instagram. So basically only my followers are seeing it. Um, and the reason why I did that is to give it more context as to, what a narcissist is. I think that the term is thrown around so lightly these days that it sort of dilutes the experience that people have gone through that have actually been abused by narcissistic people. It's so easy to have a relationship that's gone sour and to just be like, oh, they're a narcissist because maybe they said something nasty to you or whatever. But there are common traits that align with that personality disorder. And yeah, I just also thought it was important to help people understand as well that maybe if these traits align with someone that you're in close proximity with, that maybe you can make a better judgment with how you want that relationship dynamic to look for you.
I think that's so important because not everyone would be able to recognize it, especially if they're still currently in that situation and haven't gone through their own healing process. So I love what your music's about, like not just creating music, but actually like, helping people and sharing what you've gone through as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important. I can only really speak from my own experiences. I can imagine as well, just with the power of empathy and all that. But I think at the end of the day, the most genuine product you can put out there is your own experience. And I think that's what people tend to, gravitate towards mostly.
Amazing. And yeah, I'm happy to hear that you're releasing Unhealed. Like it sounds like such a cool project. So when I saw it, I was like, I just want to learn so much more about it. Because what really stood out to me was that in the preview you shared, you pointed out that you're not a finished product, but a lot of people assume that you are. So
Mm.
why is it that you feel like so many people assume that you may have it all together?
Um, just based on a few discussions I've had with some people, and some of those people I've also like lost out friendships with because they've assumed I've like become this person who's like projected onto a path, like who's on this trajectory of in my career that's like I'll admit it's way ahead of where I started, thank goodness, but it's also not like way ahead of the people that I'm associated with or the people that had a problem with where I'm at now. I think it's just also the idea that in Australia, particularly, we have a tendency to chop people down as soon as they've like reached a certain ceiling. And I think that's very particular if you're a person of color as well. And it's like the people want to see you win up until a certain point. Um, and that's only a small demographic of people. There's also a large demographic of people who are really loving and supporting of my journey, and fans of my work that I'm so appreciative of, but uh it's almost like I've been put on a pedestal maybe, or it's almost like as if they think that I've got it together. I really don't, you know? I'm I don't know, I feel like I'm still human, and I'm still at a place where I will bump my head and make mistakes. And I'm still at a place where I'm evolving my craft,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I just want people to understand that, like, where I started was not where I am now, and where I am now is not where I'm going to be in 5 years. And that same concept will apply to the people who feel that way towards me. Does that translate?
Yes, and it's so important because so many people do just see the final products and they don't see like all the hardships you've gone through to get there. And then they put you up on
Completely.
that pedestal and then just wait for you, I guess, to have that moment where you do fuck up or make a mistake.
Yeah, and I think it's also just looking introspectively at the idea that I don't know, I think it's also just being like, hey, um guys, we all came from somewhere. We all started somewhere. We're all starting from somewhere. And, you know, where I started is like still a foundation that I'm trying to spring off today, you know? And I want other people to understand as well for themselves that they're in that journey as well. You know, where they were 5 years ago probably isn't where they are now either. So we're all just kind of like cogs in this machine trying to do the best we can.
Yeah. And this project is huge. As you said, it goes back to who you were before you were the BVT that we all know today. So how
Mm.
did you know when you're ready to kind of share your story with the world?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. It's something that I've been on the fence about for a long time. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this with anyone because I think what I wanted to do was make people understand that. And the reason also why I'm making it exclusive to Instagram is because that's where you post your highlight reels. So everyone's always witnessing your highlight reel. And social media is kind of becoming this place where we are avatars of our perfect self. And so we're put into this place where we're comparing ourselves to each other, and it's making us feel like our self-worth is no good. So I felt like if I showed my more human self, parts of me that are more vulnerable, more raw, touching on stuff that I don't normally talk about with people or in my music, um, or if I release songs that weren't like my best productions, like before I even knew what I was doing, I feel like if I put that out there in a place that is specified for your highlight reel, that if people witness that, then they'll understand how to be more, I don't know, how we can connect more. I think with social media, we're becoming less human, we're becoming less empathic towards each other. And there's this disconnect that happens. So I felt like by taking this step and humanizing myself as much as possible and showing everyone my imperfections, my flaws, and some dark subjects that linger in my mind, that maybe there's some relatability that could happen, and maybe people can kind of chill and be like, oh, okay, great. This isn't a highlight reel. This is just an artist expressing themselves in the most human way possible. Cool.
Yeah. And
Now
hopefully,
I have permission to do
sorry,
so.
sorry about that.
No,
Yeah,
no, good.
hopefully it encourages other people to do the same too. Because yeah, hopefully the more people that do, share on Instagram their stories, the more people are going to do it and just inspires others. And as you said, like this
Mm.
didn't happen overnight. So I first found your music, I think it was it called Express Yourself, the Mardi Gras showcase with like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, No Frills Twins, Alex the Astronaut. And I went into it like I hadn't heard your music before. So the first time I saw you live, I was like, I have no idea what this BB person was about. But I can like I absolutely loved it. And just seeing how you've grown from there to now has been incredible as well. Because you've talked more about like your culture. You've got songs dedicated to sex workers. You're like you're supporting all different things. So yeah, tell me more about like what inspired your growth and how you found all these like the confidence to be yourself. Because you mentioned that it can be hard with like your culture, expectations, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I've I feel I'm just a product of my environment. So the people in the communities that I am connected to are directly going to influence what I'm thinking and feeling. And when I go back home and I sit and I meditate on it, then you know, those influences are maybe going to pop up in my music. It's just nature. Um, as for myself, I've always had self-confidence. It's something that's not been easily knocked. Not to say that it hasn't been, it has in certain situations, but yeah, I've always had that self-confidence and tenacity. And in relationships with my culture, it's always made me look like I'm rebellious or an outcast or something. So I'm sitting in the gray area between like my motherland's culture and then my fatherland's culture, and they're two opposing forces, and I'm in the middle trying to navigate both because I'm perceived as both. If I cross the border into the other land, so like it kind of gives you a sense of like, well, I don't belong here or there, despite either effort or my effort. What I can do is comfortably sit in the middle and gain perspective from both and develop myself as a person and forge my own path forward.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned that this project is exclusively to Instagram. So what would it look like? Would it be like you releasing those unreleased tracks? You mentioned that you'll be doing reels. Like what would this project look like for you?
Yeah, so it's all just going to be posted from my BVT profile. Um, they're going to be sort of like, I guess, real format. Um, and then I'll have my music releasing simultaneously with visuals. And I'm trying to make a visual concept for all of them, which is ambitious. It's very, very student film like, but and it's a step away from like the high polished production stuff that I do. I'm very passionate about good visuals. I love a good music video. And if you look at my catalog, that reputation precedes itself. And I've worked with a fantastic team to get those videos produced that way. However, for the Unhealed project, because it's so raw and it's so prickly, I needed the visuals to kind of match whatever was going on sonically. Um, you'll see with Narcissist when you go watch it that, you know, I think Narcissist is the more polished version of all the tracks that I'm about to release. I have another one that's coming out hopefully in a week or two that's going to be quite student film, like very, very rough.
Yeah.
And then the one after that, it's going to be darker, and a lot more like static. And then the one after that is going to be a bit more like a visual collage, like a video collage of moments. So I'm just trying to story tell the best I can, I guess.
Yeah, and it sounds like it'll be like a gradual job. So it won't be like everything at once. It'll be like, slowly telling a story is what the vibe I'm getting from you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it all out before I go back to like being BVT, this polished version of myself.
Yeah, and as an artist, like you're obviously having to revisit, because you mentioned that you're sharing parts of you that you want to leave behind, and now through this project, you're going to have to revisit those. So how do you protect your mental health as an artist, having to like be the version you are now, but revisiting old memories?
It's actually really interesting. Because I'm also an actor, I'm trying to tap into that part of me. But when I was filming Narcissist, I was like, oh, I have to be this really grotesque kind of character. I have to be this really menacing person. And it was hard, like trying to genuinely be that, trying to genuinely tap into that. And you're also conscious of when you're being filmed and you have like people helping you with this project. how they might perceive you. So you just try to not get in your head too much about that. But I don't know, I'm good at switching off. Um, I'm good at going home and tapping back into reality, whether it's like just being very chill and going back to things that ground me. My partner really grounds me. My home environment really grounds me. Um, and just like knowing there's a degree of separation between myself and the parts of me that I'm trying to portray, just knowing that that separation exists and reminding myself that separation exists really helps.
Yeah.
um I'll tap back in with you with how that goes the further down this project gets, but I know I'm going to be just like exploring darker themes, so it's going to be difficult, yeah, navigating that, but I know I can. But I'll check in with you how I go with that.
It sounds like you've got the right things in place, though, especially if the plan is after this Unhealed project to then like switch hats and then go back into like the BVT that you are today.
Yeah, I think it's less like a putting this hat on and taking it off. I think it's more like a going through the process of catharsis.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing this to finally release that and let it go. This is my process of letting go.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to, yeah, revisit those parts and have those conversations to be able to let it go, especially if people are talking to you about the project you're releasing to and having those conversations.
Yeah, completely.
And I love how you described your music. And I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. So if I get a word wrong, I apologize. But I think it was sexy, horny, wholesome, and ancestral. Is that right?
Hot, horny, healing, ancestral. Hot, hot, horny, wholesome, healing, ancestral.
Yes. Okay. So tell me like why those words and why do you feel like they both best represent who you are?
Because they do. Because they do. Because those are, I think, the in short or in an abridged version, um, the sum of my parts, like that, and that is the summary of my human experience. Um, I do love things that are hot and horny, and I do have songs that are like that. But I'm also a very wholesome human being. I'm very soft on the inside. Um, yeah, so what, hot, horny, wholesome, healing. That came from after the Art Gallery New South Wales gig that I did, which was hands down one of my favorite gigs I did in 2021 or two. No, 2022, I think, or three. Can't remember. Whenever Sydney World Pride was happening. Um, but someone came up to me after my set and was like, that was healing. So like, period. I'm gonna take that on. And then ancestral, because that's the energy I want to carry with me all the time. When I'm decolonizing my own space, my own culture, I want to bring my ancestors with me with their intentions and guidance. And then, you know, that's that's how it is.
Yeah, and the fact that someone just came up to you and told you that your music is healing is a huge compliment to you and your art. So well done. Like that's huge.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. And lastly, like obviously we've got this project coming out that we're all excited for, but are you still doing any like live shows or how can people support you other than just keeping an eye out for the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they're following me on socials, that's a really big help, in more ways than one. It also just sort of helps me with when I approach like other bigger bodies to support my work. So because the first question they ask is how many followers do you have, which is really annoying, but doing that really helps. It also helps them stay up to date with the gigs that I have. Um, I think I've got Junipero gig happening December 14th. Um, yep, Junipero gig December 14th. And then I have a few others sprinkled here and there. And then next year for Mardi Gras, I'll be playing for Unicorns Party, which will be really, really exciting. And I hope everyone comes along and experiences the BVT portal because that would be really fun.
Yeah, and as like I only saw you live like years ago, so I can imagine like as we discussed how much you've grown. So I'll definitely love to come and catch you and see like just how you've evolved in that time.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, of course. And I'm just curious from like my own interest because I really loved like the beatboxing videos you were during lockdown. So will there be some beatboxing in your kind of backstory project?
You know, not really. I think I was using beatboxing in some of the production that of the tracks that I'm going to release, one in particular, but it's not super obvious that it's there. You might like get a hint of it as like ear candy or whatever. And I think that's what I'm trying to utilize my beatboxing now from this point forward. Um, I think that journey, that chapter is like separate to this entity that I'm exploring at the moment.
Yeah, cool. I'm so excited to see it. That's all my questions, but did you have any other comments or things you want people to know before approaching this Unhealed project?
Go in with an open mind, please. Go in with the understanding that this is me going back in a time capsule, like 10 years, sometimes more. Um, Go in with the understanding that I'm trying to show you the parts of me that are not my highlight reel, um, maybe my low light reel sometimes. And I would say if you're sensitive to certain dark themes, then viewer discretion is definitely advised.